Okay, so let's move forward. Let's move forward into looking at our diagram question. The diagram question, as you just heard in the strategy video, is very similar to a fill the blank question. They give you a picture to look at, and you have to be able to fill in the blanks when looking at that picture. But basically, it's a fill the blank question. As I said yesterday, the whole IELTS reading is basically different versions of multiple choice and fill the blank questions. They look different and they're designed different, but essentially they're the same thing. They're just asking it in different ways. All right, so let's take a look at this test here. It's called high speed, high rise. So let's go ahead and work on the diagram question. All right, so here we have a diagram. It's important to look at the directions where it says choose one word only from the text for each answer. All right, and basically it says label the diagram below. So this is a diagram where they are building something. So what might be helpful in terms of trying to find the right paragraph that the information is coming from is to look for a paragraph that discusses how something is built or something being built. That might be very helpful. Also, we should note also that sometimes all the answers don't have to come in the same paragraph. 19 might come from paragraph 2, 20 and 21 might come from paragraph 3, and 22 might come from paragraph 4. Or it's possible they all might come in the same paragraph, but you have to be aware of that. You have to be aware that it is possible that they may not all come in the exact same paragraph, okay? So let's be aware of that. Now, like I've told you, we should treat this like a fill the blank question. And so we see here, like for 19, we're looking for the words pipes and ducts. Number 22, we're looking for a section containing less than conventional buildings, something less. 21 should be easy to find because of the words diagonal bracing, and 20 is something that's chosen by a customer. All right, it's also important to keep in mind that they may use synonym language, okay? They may use synonym language from the language that's in the question to the correct sentence that's in the passage. Remember, your answer choices are coming from a particular sentence in the passage, and you have to find that sentence. That's what it's all about, finding and understanding. Finding and understanding. Finding and understanding. All right, so let's look for our first one dealing with pipes and ducts. And that's going to be easy to find because it has to be together. And also, there are no synonyms for pipes and ducts. So we should be able to find those words exactly, and I'm scanning down now. Oh, all right, I found it already. All right, and also this paragraph B is a good paragraph because it says, so far Broad has built 16 structures. So that tells me that this whole paragraph is discussing how something is built. And remember, I told you that if we had a diagram we had a diagram that was describing something being built, and so it was helpful to find a paragraph that discussed something being built. That was very, very helpful. So let's read what it says about pipes and ducts. Pipes and ducts for electricity. I'm right here, everybody. Paragraph B, and I'm in the 1, 2, 3, 4th sentence. Starts with the word pipes. You can see the little hand on the screen. Pipes and ducts for electricity, water, and waste are threaded through each floor module while it's still in the factory. All right, pipes and ducts for electricity, water, and waste are threaded through each floor module while it's still in the factory. All right, pipes and ducts installed while in factory. Number 19 is factory, right? They're installed while they're in the factory. You can see that's in the sentence. All right, it says pipes and ducts for electricity, water, waste are threaded through each floor while still in the factory. All right, when it says threaded through each floor, That's that's synonym for saying installed. All right, when it says threaded through each floor. All right, that's a synonym for saying install. Remember I told you with fill the blank questions, if you find the language that comes before the blank line, the important language that comes before the blank line, you can always know what the answer is. And when it says thread through each floor, that's saying installed. All right, that's saying installed. And so that tells us that our answer is going to be they're installed while in the factory. But we can only write one word for our answer, so we have to write factory. If you write the factory, it's wrong. Okay, the is a word. The is a word, and so we have to be very strict and be very technical about it. Okay, be very strict and technical about it. All right, you just write the word factory. Next, we're looking for something chosen by the customer. And I'm going to assume that this question goes in order. Because like I said, the vast majority of the time, that's what it does. Oh, here it is right here. Right afterwards, it says the client's choice. Right? Client's choice, chosen by the customer, synonym language. Right? They're not going to put the exact same synonym language in two different sentences. Okay, they're not going to do that to you. I mean, you can never say never. So let's just say I'm about 95% sure they're never going to do that to you. As many years as I have been teaching the IELTS exam, I can't remember a time when they have done it. Okay? All right, so the client's choice of flooring. So the correct answer is flooring. The correct answer is flooring. F-L-O-O-R-I-N-G. The client's choice of flooring. Right, flooring chosen by customer. Again, you can only write one word. 21, diagonal bracing at the top and bottom of what? Diagonal bracing at the top and bottom of. Keywords are top and bottom of. And like I said, we're going to assume we're going in order. There's diagonal bracing right there. All right, we see it right there. And you see it's going in order. Here's number 20. Here's number 19 with pipes and ducts. Here's number 20 with client's choice, flooring. And down here's number 21 with diagonal bracing. So you can see, it's as I told you, that this question, the diagram question, for the most part, is going to go in order. Okay, so let's read what it says. It starts with the unique column, right? The unique column design has diagonal bracing at each end and tabs that bolt it to the floors above and below. The unique column design has diagonal bracing at each end. The answer is column. Right? The column has diagonal bracing at each end. At each end is synonym for top and bottom. Okay? At each end, right here, at each end is synonym for top and bottom. So what's at each end? A column. So the answer is column. See how that works? So a lot of times what you have to be aware of is they may switch the word order may be switched up between the question and the passage. Okay? So what I mean by that is this. Here it says diagonal bracing at the top and bottom of a column. Right? So we have top and bottom of the column. In the passage, we have top and bottom of the column. In the passage, it says there's a column at each end. So you see it's reversed. It's reversed, and you have to be aware of that. Here, the correct answer is, of course, top and bottom of column. Top and bottom of column. However, in the passage, the way it's written in the passage is there's a column at each end. Right? There's a column at the top and the bottom. So the word order is reversed. The word order is reversed. And so that's important to make sure you're aware of that it does not have to come in the exact same word order that is written. All right, for number 22, I'm looking for something about some language. I have to find language that means less. Right? That's probably what I'm going to focus on more than anything else. The word less. For number 22, the word less and the word conventional building, because the word less, it should be easy to find. It's probably going to be using synonyms in the passage, and that's the trick to being able to find the right sentence as the answer comes from. It's not about reading so much and taking on so much. You have to focus on finding the right sentence. That's what you have to focus on. Finding the right sentence. Got to focus on that. Have to do that. All right, so let's keep going down. We're here. I'm looking for a word. I'm scanning through this. Conventional buildings and less. Like I said, I'm scanning. I'm not reading. I'm scanning. We're not really reading. We're just taking it word by word, going through the words without reading. I know that sounds strange, but that's how you have to scan. You're going through the words without reading. I haven't found conventional building. And I haven't found conventional building yet. Oh, here's buildings. All right, there's buildings. I need something talking about less, though. Okay, we're getting close. All right, it says 6 months of starting his research. Zonka giving up traditional methods. Traditional is similar to the word conventional, but I still have to find the language that means the same as less. Here we go. All right, it's in this last sentence right here. To reduce. Here's our last sentence. To reduce means to make less, and here we have the word building right here. Okay? To reduce the overall weight of the building, it had to use less concrete. And we have the word less. We have actually the exact word less right here, less concrete. So the answer would be concrete, C-O-N-C-R-E-T. The answer would be concrete. To reduce the overall weight of the building and use less concrete. All right, now I want you to make a note of something. Okay, I want you to make a note of something. Numbers 19, 20, and 21 were all in paragraph B. Then it skipped paragraph C, and the last answer is in paragraph D. So you see how that is, right? It doesn't have to go paragraph by paragraph. We had 3 of the answers in paragraph B, then it skipped paragraph C, and our next answer was in paragraph D. So you have to be aware that that's a possibility to be able to skip over a paragraph. Okay, got to be aware of that. Okay, so that'll do it for this first example of the diagram question. And now we will go ahead and do another one. Okay? All right, so take care, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, so let's look at another diagram example. All right, for this diagram example, we're looking at this passage is from test number 1 from the Cambridge book number 8. And if you have the book, you are definitely welcome to work along with me. I suggest you get the books. I think they're great, and you should use them. If you want to, you can actually stop the lecture right now and go to Cambridge Book 8, reading passage 1, and you can try to do the question and before I go through it, and then be able to check your answers that way. So I think that's a great way to use this book. And to be able to work with us. All right, so let's look at a diagram question. We've seen this reading passage. We've seen this reading passage before because I used it to do a matching question, which we just learned earlier. We did this matching question right here earlier, and I explained also with this passage about how to do the paragraph location question, in terms of that we don't do it first. We do the matching and the diagram first, then go back to the paragraph location question. I explained that to you. Right, but here is our diagram right here. Right. So again, a diagram is pretty much like a fill the blank question. Okay, it's pretty much like a fill the blank question. And now for this diagram, they give us a big clue. They give us a big clue that lets us that's going to help us be able to find the right paragraph or paragraphs to have this information. So I'll give you like 3 seconds to see if you can look at it and be able to know what that clue is. It's going to tell us where how to quickly find the right paragraph. Okay, you ready? It's right here. 1670. How the 1670 lever-based device worked. 1670, right? We should be able to look and find that date very, very fast. And once we find that date, we will find all the answers that go on the blank line. Okay? All right, number 9 is dealing with escapement, and the key word here is resembling. All right, the word resemble means looks like. All right? Very important that you learn vocabulary, okay? The more vocabulary that you learn, the easier this test is going to be. So you got to learn vocabulary. All right? If you don't, I mean, you can learn the vocabulary that you need for the TOEFL exam and the IELTS exam is the same. It doesn't matter if you're studying IELTS for IELTS vocabulary or for TOEFL for vocabulary. It doesn't matter. I'm talking about in terms of, like, if you see a list that says TOEFL vocabulary, that's good for the IELTS. If you see a list that says IELTS vocabulary, that's good for the TOEFL. All right? So, don't worry about that. Number 10 has to be a word. Let's look at our directions. How many words can we write? No more than 2 words. Right? Directions say no more than 2 words. We can write 2 words or 1 word. Can't write 3. Number 10 is going to be something that describes what this is. You have to look at what that looks like. Number 11 is going to be a word that describes what these things are right here. These little pointy things. All right, and number 12 and 13 are connected to this language, which beats each. That's very helpful because 12 and 13 are connected. A blank which beats each blank. Okay? All right, so first let's find the paragraph that we need to look for. And we're looking for 1670. And I could do really like a loose scan. I don't have to scan really hard because I'm looking for numbers. I still don't see 1670, but I'm scanning. Looking at numbers, everybody. All I'm looking at are numbers. 1283, 13, 14. Here we go. 16th century, 1670. All right, there we go. All right. So first, I'm looking for the first one, and I'm looking for something with just like the word resemble. It was called the anchor escapement, which was a lever-based device shaped like a ship's anchor. Oh, there we go. Shaped like. Shaped like is the same thing as resemble. Shaped like is the same as resemble. I'm right here in the second sentence of paragraph G. Second sentence of paragraph G. Shaped like a ship's anchor. So the answer I will write is ship's anchor. Ship's anchor, right there. Ship's anchor. Number 10 and 11, we can look at those together. 10, well, it looks like a circle. It looks like the wheel of a car. The motion of the pendulum rocks the device so that it catches it and releases each tooth of the escape wheel. Yeah. That's exactly what that looks like, right? It looks like a wheel, the escape wheel, right? And that other thing looks like a tooth, right? It looks like a tooth. Yeah, tooth and wheel, right? Tooth and wheel, they're together also. Tooth of the escape wheel, right? But if we look here, remember I told you, for a diagonal question, it's possible for the answers to come reversed. right? It's the answer for here. The answers are coming at us reversed, and what I mean by that is this: for number 11 is coming before number 10. The answer to number 11 is tooth. The answer to number 10 is escape wheel, because that looks like a wheel. But we know 10 and 11 have to be together. But in our passage, number 11, the word tooth is coming before the answer for number 10, the word escape wheel. So that's why I said for a diagram question, that's what you have to be aware of. Sometimes if you have two possible answer choices, not two possible answer choices, you have two questions that are right next to each other like that, or they're combined together. It's possible for one of them to come before the other one, and in fact, they really like to do that sometimes on the IELTS exam, because a lot of students are not expecting it and are not prepared for it. Okay, but you have to be. All right, and we have one more. We have 12 and 13. We're looking for a sentence that talks about which beats each. A blank, which beats each. I'm going to focus on that language, which beats each. We're scanning through. They're going in order. So, I mean, they're going in order in terms of their grouping. 10 and 11 were reversed, but oh, here we go right here. It's in the last sentence. Which could beat. Which could beat. Moreover, this invention allowed for the use of a long pendulum, which could beat once a second. Once a second, once a is synonym for each. Once a is synonym for each. So the answer for number 13 is second. And what language comes right before could beat? Which could beat is long pendulum, right? Long pendulum, right? Moreover, this invention allowed the use of a long pendulum, which could beat once a second, right? So the language right before which could beat is long pendulum. So that's the answer for number 12. And also we have the synonym language for each. Once a is a synonym for each. And so the answer for 13 is second. See right here? A long pendulum which beats each. Second. Okay? And we have synonym language for each. Once a is synonym for each. So it says once a second, each second. All right? A long pendulum. That comes right before which beats. All right? So those are our answers for 12 and 13. Okay? So when we have diagram questions, just be aware we treat them like fill-the-blank questions, but we have to be aware when we have two questions that are combined together like 10 and 11, it's possible for them to be reversed in terms of their order in the passage. So we have to be aware of that, okay? So thanks for joining us, and now we're going to move on to some more practice. So take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Now that we have just finished up that previous question strategy with the examples of the application of the strategy and how to really go about scanning for that question, we're now going to go ahead and move forward into another type of question. We're going to take a look at the summary question for the reading section of the IELTS exam. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and try to give you a really good explanation of the summary question. In regards to the question requirements, this is basically a fill-the-blank question in paragraph form. It does run the risk of not being in order, and that's different from your standard fill-the-blank question. On the right-hand side, you can see that we have one type of summary question where you have the paragraph with the blank lines, and then you have answer choices in the box. You have another type of summary question, which is the same strategy pretty much, except there are no answers in a box. You have to be able to pull the answer from the sentence on your own or pull the answer directly. When they're using answer choices that are in a box, then you're dealing more of a situation where you find the answer in the sentence and then you have to match it to a synonym in the box. So in my opinion, this is just my opinion, the summary questions that involve a box are more difficult than the ones without answers within a box. Now, there is a scanning requirement, just like in a normal fill-the-blank question, where you have to look at the keywords in the question, go to the reading passage, scan and find the matching sentence, and pull out your answer choices. However, you always want to keep in mind that there's the risk of the sentences or questions not going in order. So it's possible you might find the information for number 20 before you find the information for numbers 18 or 19. Now, it's very important to understand why it's called a summary question. Really, what's a summary? When you really think about it, what is a summary? So what they're doing very often is they're taking sentences from different paragraphs and putting them into one paragraph. So you might have sentences from paragraphs or from sections B, C, and D, and then they put that together into one paragraph, because that's what a summary is. A summary can be a summary of an entire passage, entire reading passage, but normally they're not doing that. They're pulling sentences from maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs. Now, it is possible that the entire summary comes from one big paragraph, where maybe the paragraph might have 7 or 8 sentences that they have condensed, reduced down to being only 3 sentences, where they're combining information from 2 sentences into 1 sentence and summarizing or condensing information. So it's important for you to understand why it's called a summary question, so that you're able to better attack the question and understand what's happening here. So in regards to some helpful strategic information, the question goes in order most of the time. However, I pointed out to you that that might not happen. Now, if you have a summary question in reading passage number 2, most likely it goes in order. If you have a summary question in reading passage 3, which is more difficult, there might be 1 or 2 of the questions that don't go in order. That's one of the ways in which they raise the difficulty level of the exam. Of course, you have the open answer question or the in-box choice, the 2 different types. And as I told you before, very often for a question, they will combine 2 sentences together, information from 2 sentences together to really summarize or condense. And so then part of the sentence comes from part of the question comes from 1 sentence, and then the answer choice will come from the next sentence, because they've condensed or combined information from sentences together. So on the right-hand side, you'll see the other version of the summary question, where it's an open question, right? There are no answers in a box. And so when you're doing that type, you're just reading the information in the paragraph or paragraphs where the sentences come from, and you're pulling out the exact answer. When it's the question style where the answer choices are in the box, very often you have to read the passage sentence, find the answer in the passage sentence, and then find the synonym match to that answer choice in the box. You can't put the direct answer from the passage. You have to put the synonym match from the box. And so that's really the difference. So in terms of strategy, you have to identify the keywords, going through the questions and underlining the keywords, paying attention to proper nouns, names, dates, numbers. Always choose to do the easiest first. So if we have numbers 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, if I think number 11 is the easiest to find first, I'm going to find number 11 and do number 11 first, because the other questions will be surrounding that question number 11. I think it's just really good if you can scan, find something very quickly. It just puts you in a great state of mind it really helps you to be able to stay balanced. Sometimes if you start with a hard question to locate, you become less confident, you become frustrated, and that just affects your entire exam. Now, as I told you, you need to focus on the language before and after the blank line because that's going to connect to the answer choice, and then apply the answer strategy. And I've already talked to you about the differences between the inbox style and the style where it's just open answer choice that you have to fill in on the blank line. Always pay attention to the instructions because most of the time they're going to give you a word limit that you have to abide by. Now, here's an example of the open style, where you don't have to pick answers from a box. So when we look at number one, right? And number one is coming from paragraph number B, or paragraph letter B. Okay? So it says the pronunciation of living language undergoes changes throughout thousands of years. Large-scale, regular changes are usually called blank. Now, we can look from the first sentence in paragraph B where my starting point is, because it says when we study pronunciation of a language over any period of a few generations or more, right? That's how we're dealing with thousands of years. Okay? We find there are always large-scale regularities. We find there are always large-scale regularities, right? And so there we see the language of large-scale right there. Large-scale regular changes, right? Find there are always large-scale regularities in the changes. That's that language. Then we have a colon. For example, over a certain period of time, just about all the long vowels in a language may change into long E vowels. Or all the B consonants in a certain position, for example, may change into P consonants. So all of that, for example, language, just to really explain to you the way what they're doing here in terms of summarizing, all of that, for example, language, they took all of that out of the summary, which is what you do in a summary. Very often when you summarize, you don't include the example language. So then it goes down to the answer choice for number one. Such regular changes are often called sound laws. Such regular changes are often called sound laws. Usually called, often called, usually called, often called. Answer is sound laws. Right? But really what I'm trying to do here is point out how just for number one, they've taken information from the first sentence, the second sentence, and then the answer choices coming from the third sentence. And I'm also wanting you to see how they're just leaving out chunks of information when creating a summary. But when I'm looking at it, I'm saying, okay, here's the thousands of years. Here's the large-scale changes. And now what am I looking for? What changes are usually called? I'm looking for that language. I'm not trying to understand all of that. I'm looking for that language, usually called, often called. Often is synonym for usually, and my answer is going to be sound laws. Now, for number two, it says, firstly, the influence of one language on another. When one person imitates another pronunciation, the most prestigious, the imitation always partly involves a factor of blank. So look at what they did here. It is also possible that fashion plays a part in the process of change. So the answer is fashion. Plays a part is synonym for involving a factor of. That's why I'm always telling you, pay attention to the language before the blank line. Plays a part is a synonym for involving a factor of. But I want you to pay attention to what they're doing here from a summarizing standpoint, right? This first part of the sentence, firstly, the influence of one language on another, comes from the second sentence. It certainly plays a part in the spread of change. One person imitates another. That language from the first part of this sentence is said in the second sentence in the passage. And then the answer comes from the sentence before that. So again, what they have done, which is what you do in summarizing, is they're taking two sentences, and then when they create the summary, they rearrange, they change up the word order. But what I'm doing and what I want you to do is make sure you are focused on that language before or after the blank line, because as I told you, that's always going to point to the answer. And then for number 3, a less specific variant of the argument is that the imitation of children is imperfect. They copy their parents' speech but never reproduce it exactly. Secondly, the imitation of children from adults, one language, sometimes are imperfect, right? So again, from where it says secondly, right? From where it says secondly, all the way to where that final word in the sentence corrected, okay, they are really combining sentences together, combining information together, right? For in paragraph D. They've taken these two sentences in paragraph D, and then for the part in the summary where it says second, they've taken those two sentences, combined them into one sentence, changed up the word order, okay? But the language sometimes sometimes is imperfect. Because it says what? Never reproduce it exactly. They never reproduce it exactly. Okay? So that's sometimes, right? Sometimes it's imperfect because they never reproduce it exactly. And then we have the summary question where it's in we have answer choices from the box. And as I've told you, in my opinion, this style is more difficult, more challenging, because you may have to find synonym language. So for example, it says, according to expert opinion, right? Now you see the words researchers and psychologists here. Those are the experts. Synonym language. There is little blank that football hooliganism occurs as a result of a number of issues and does not necessarily correlate with age, psychological profile, or blank. So what they've done here is they've started at this sentence right here, the football, and it goes all the way down here. So they've summarized all of that information, those two sentences, two really long sentences, into one short sentence in the summary. Okay? When we look at it, it is generally agreed that a combination of factors may initiate this type of antisocial behavior, and that it is unrealistic to contend that all such behavior stems from a particular, right? So if it's unrealistic to contend that all, what word summarizes that, right? And this is where the difficulty comes in. What word summarizes that? It deals with doubt. It deals with doubt. And then number 5 is much easier, right? Age, psychological profile, age, and number 5 is class. And then next we have number 7, right? I know you see number 6 there, but what they've done in this paragraph, they're doing number 4, 5, and 7. Number 6 actually comes from a different paragraph. Number 6 comes from a different paragraph. So this one is kind of going out of order. You're going to see number 4, then number 5, then number 7, and then number 6 comes after it, right? So that's what I mean by the questions possibly going out of order. And then if we look at the sentence, we can see it says, some psychologists believe that such behavior and membership of troublemaking groups can give certain individuals a sense of. And in the paragraph, it says experts do, however, believe that rampaging hooligan behavior can instill a sense of belonging and community in participants who feel they can strongly identify with their group. So, hooligan behavior, there we have the word behavior. Membership, identifying with a group, that's membership, right? You get a sense of what? Belonging and community. What's the synonym answer? Look at the box. The synonym answer is unity. The synonym answer is unity. Belonging and community is synonym for unity. So the answer would be J. If you put belonging and community as an answer choice, you are wrong. You have to look in the box and pull out the synonym relationship. Okay, so coming up next, I'm going to be giving you full passage application, scanning, and answer application. Thanks a lot for joining us. I'll talk to you soon. Okay, so let's look at an example of the summary question. There's a good example of the summary question where all the words appear in the box, okay? Where all the words appear in a box. And then we've seen an example of when the words don't appear in the box. So now let's look at an example of when the words do appear in the box, okay? So let's have a look at it. This is from, I believe this is from the Cambridge book number 7 or 8. I think it's number 7. I like some of the